impromptu live here. We're inside the courthouse. This is the old courthouse downtown again. They're done with the renovations in the meeting room. And as you can read in the title of this, they're going to be exempting some laws tonight, an exempting policy. And we're here with the rabble rouser. And Cam back. Got the obligatory Cam back here. So, I haven't been in the new room up here. Had you been here since it's been redone?
Yeah.
So, first time for both of us back at the old room here. How many times you been thrown out of here, man? Twice? I got thrown out of here once or twice, I think. But they're more than twice. So they've really reorganized things. And some of you guys that haven't been with us for a county meeting since the election, there's 2 new commissioners up there. And so what?
Went from 3 to 5.
Do what?
Went from 3 to 5.
Yeah, 3 to 5, and they've changed the layout of the room. And so yeah, you ready to go in?
Personally, I think it's a waste of money because all they did essentially was just shift the room. We used to sit over there, now you're sitting here, and then they made a bigger desk.
Right. Well, they had to make a bigger desk.
Well, yeah, but they could have just kept it the way it was and made a bigger desk right there.
And look at old Patrick Kelly there. He got an elevated position even.
Yep. See Dale Flory sitting over there.
Yep. Yep.
Are you gonna speak on your public comment?
Uh-huh.
And
Yep. Sit over here.
Good evening and welcome.
Recording in progress.
Good evening and welcome to our February 5th, 2025 Board of Douglas County Commissioners 5:30 business meeting. Paper copies of the agenda are available for those here in person, and the full packet is available on our website. Reviewing the agenda, first we'll have our consent agenda. There are 2 items tonight on that agenda. After our consent agenda, we'll have general public comment. We welcome general public comment for addressing issues not on today's agenda but otherwise related to county business. Given our limited time and the need to have an orderly and efficient meeting, we will apply certain rules regarding public comment. We will do our best to enforce these rules consistently and without regard to the point of view expressed by the speaker. First, each speaker will be limited to a total of 3 minutes of speaking time. However, we will accept public comment of any length in writing. Second, speakers may not donate unused time to other speakers. 3, all comments must address topics within the jurisdiction of the county commission. And lastly, we reserve the right to mute or remove any speaker whose comments are threatening, aggressively hostile, or belligerent. Campaigning for public office during the public comment period is not allowed. Please give your full name, address for our meeting minutes, and address your comments to the commission. Please also know that comments received by the commission during our meetings do not necessarily represent the views of Douglas County government, but we value the input. We don't usually respond to general public comments on the spot, but if you leave your contact information with county staff, we'll try and get specific questions answered. After that, we'll move to our regular agenda. There are 2 items on our regular agenda this evening. We have a blanket purchase order for legal services and a charter resolution to exempt Lawrence Douglas County Public Health from completing sanitary inspections in schools. For each action item, we'll hear from staff or an applicant, followed by questions from the commission, and then open the item up for public comment relative to that item. Once public comment is closed, we'll bring the item back to the commission for further discussion and a vote. Lastly, a recording of this meeting will be available on the county's YouTube page and website. With that, I'll start with our consent agenda. Commissioners, would any of you like to pull an item from our consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, is there anyone here at the courthouse? Is there anyone online? Okay. With that, Commissioners, I'd welcome a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to approve items 1.1 and 1.2.
This is Gene Dorsey, I second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. We'll move on to general public comment. We invite anybody here at the courthouse to provide general public comment during this time.
Patrick, voting here? Good. Nice. Welcome to the new room. I guess this is my first time in here. First time I've been able to come across that. Gene, good to see you sitting up there. Eric, I've not met you. The rest of you, we know all about. The two of you down here at the end, just a little bit about me. If you don't insult me or try to shut me down or violate my rights, we won't have any problems. The rest of those three have, and that's why there's a lot of animosity between myself and them. Tonight, I want to talk about homeless issues because LCS put out a newsletter in February that talked about the number of people that they had housed. And I sent back a request for some more information, asked some questions to be answered about where those funds were coming from to house those people, what kind of voucher program it was, if there was one, things like this, where they had gone wrong in housing before, what had caused houselessness in the first place. I was impressed that I actually got back a response, a body of information that they tried to present. But I was disappointed with the information that I was given. There were, I believe it was 23 or 28 people housed. I didn't bring it with me this evening. This was an unexpected visit tonight. But there were 23 or 28 housed. In any case, there were 10 of those that I was told by staff at LCS that they had been housed without subsidy. And what that means to me is that this person is now living in a apartment that's not rent controlled, it's just out there, and they're doing it on their own with no help. And what I want to know is how did a person go from homelessness to that? And was that person chronically homeless? Because that's the other thing that we don't really think about is the chronically homeless are the ones that we're wanting to help the most. And what I'm finding out in this response that I got from them, God, you guys seriously spend the money and buy a timer. I'm so sick of having to look over there and see a piece of paper that she's had for 2 years holding up over there at me. I apologize. But in the response that I was given, they talk about 3 people that were housed with vouchers. With all the money that we've spent around here, that was all the money that we could find, 3 vouchers, that's all we could do. But I'm gonna turn back to the 10 again. Chronically homeless. There's no way I've been up here for 3 minutes already. Chronically homeless. That's who we need to try to help. And I'm not seeing those numbers coming out of LCS. The only thing that we fulfilled in our agreement as far as committing to ending homelessness and Bill for Zero is that we've committed to a plan. We haven't gotten anywhere as far as ending homelessness or doing anything to get Bill for Zero.
My name is Dr. Justin Spees. Last week I submitted a Kansas Open Records request, to you guys through your Freedom of Information Officer, who's Carrie Britt, and the request was for the all unedited copies of your guys' previous meeting, because you had posted it up online and edited. And she denied the request under a couple of reasons, under a couple of statutes she provided, and I got a couple of questions about that. One of the statutes she provided was 45221A30, and that here says that provides an exception for government agencies not to release a recording. And number 30 says, public records containing information of a personal nature where the public disclosure thereof would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. So question for you guys, what's personal about these public meetings going on right now? This is a public meeting. It's open to the public. Anybody can come in here. Anybody can view it online as well. What exactly is public about that? And then if you could provide what you're saying is private about that. So if you could provide what is private about that, I need you to explain then on top of that, how that would constitute a clearly unwarranted invasion of personal privacy. So like right now, for example, is what I'm doing a clear invasion of my personal property? What's private about this? So if you could look into that and then go ahead and educate Carrie Britt that that's not correct. Because if you guys don't correct her, I'm gonna correct you guys. And I'm gonna get that record, the recording of the meeting, because it is a public record. This whole meeting is open to the public. You can't therefore then say, well, we can't give you the record to the public meeting that took place. So, like I said, go ahead and correct her, give me that record. That would be the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. Either way, I'm gonna get the record from you guys because it's a open record. The exemption doesn't apply.
Here.
Any other public comment here at the courthouse? Anyone online, Sarah? Okay, we'll close general public comment. We'll move on to our regular agenda item and start with blanket purchase order for 2025 legal services in the amount of $400,000. This is an administration item, so I'll turn it over to Sarah for presentation.
Thanks, Commissioners. I don't have a whole lot more to add to the agenda item. Just wanted to, this was discussed last year when our county counselor changed firms. So because this particular service is, the appointment of the counselor is by county code up to the county commission, that is the decision made by code, so it is not put up to bid from that perspective. So we want the commission's approval for that variance, or perhaps our code isn't quite match up to our financial policies. And there was some discussion about this last year, so I want to put it before the commission and just stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Sarah. Commissioners, any questions?
I just had a couple of comments. While the amount seems large, I'm told we just settled a tax case with a big box store where they were seeking back $1 million, and our attorney successfully pursued that to a good conclusion. So the cost benefit would seem to indicate that it's good to have lawyers on your side.
Commissioners, anything else on this item? Okay, we'll open it up for public comment.
Yeah. You know, I let my viewers at home know this one was coming because this is just absolutely insane. Reading from your handout here, per finance policy, purchases greater than $100,000 must be either competitively bid or made through cooperative agreements. Since this is a political appointment, I want to pause there. It even says this is a political appointment by the Board of Commissioners. It conflicts with the policy because it cannot be competitively bid. So that is like saying that it's okay since we violate the policy because it's political, or is it saying that it's okay since it's political that we can violate the policy? Because I have some real issues with the fact that we can take a political appointment, and when we're gonna pay them, you're gonna exempt yourselves from the competitive bidding process. And exactly how many lawsuits has this guy actually been involved in that have prevailed? That I would like, if you could answer me on the post haste or on the backside of this, if you can tell me if that lawsuit was $1 million that he saved us. But the reality is this is a political appointment, and you're exempting yourselves from policies intended to prevent people from cashing in on our tax dollars. And it's hard not to look at this and think that somebody's cashing in. And then when I go to the back of it here, it's interesting. This isn't an agreement signed by you guys that's appointing him. This is an agreement signed by Sarah Plinsky. So is she the one that signs the agreements with your political appointments? Educate me a little on that if I'm wrong, but it seems odd that she would be the one signing the contract for your political appointment. But I think the voters should have a problem with political appointments being exempted from the normal processes, the normal open bidding processes. This is a transparency issue, cut and dry. And just because he's John Bullock and he's been around for so many years, that's not an excuse not to competitively bid this. We see attorneys down in Elk County and other counties down in southeast Kansas that have been around for years and years and years, and they're pieces of shit. We need to analyze this a little bit and look into, is this fair market rate? We're gonna pay this, is this the only work he's doing for the entire year? Because I doubt it. This is just part of his work. So we're gonna give him, what, $380 some odd thousand dollars, overall $350 some odd thousand dollars, just for the work that he does for the county. And that's not talking about his full-time gig, because he's doing other shit, guys. This is an agreement with the firm, not with that one attorney. We're getting built here.
Dr. Justin Spees, I'm suing the county commission here for a couple of unlawful arrests and multiple instances where you guys stopped me from speaking in here, violating my First, Fourth, and 14th Amendment. And I can tell you 100% that John Bullock doesn't appear as your guys' representation, as your defense counsel on that lawsuit. It's an outside contracted law firm representing you guys. His name doesn't appear anywhere in there. And so, you know, he maybe did that, Gene. You might want to look into that, that if he really was litigating you guys, saved you guys $1 million, you might want to look into that, because it's definitely not true on my lawsuit. I don't know if it's true on yours there, Karen, where you're getting sued, and then whatever else you guys got going on, like some land and the windmills and stuff like that. But my guess is you guys are contracting out to outside attorneys. So what that means is that John Bullock's getting $400,000 for his salary there, which last year you guys said that the expenditures were $363,000. So he's giving himself a $47,000 raise. And in his letter, he says that he represents you guys on all litigation, and that's simply not true. As I just demonstrated, he's not representing you guys. So that means you guys are. The county's gonna pay $400,000 for his salary. And then however many thousands of dollars you're gonna pay on top of that for the outside attorneys as well. So I think that you need to be a little bit more transparent. You know, we're talking probably, I don't know, close to $1 million you guys are gonna spend in attorney's fees probably with his salary and then all the other outside lawsuits you guys got going on. That's gonna come from the taxpayers, it seems like. So I think you want to be open and transparent about that with the county here, and you're gonna want to look in a little bit further, because I don't think John's representing you guys. And not only that,
he walked you guys into that last year of shutting me down in here and the unlawful arrest. So he's costing the county hundreds of thousands of dollars in his fuck-ups. And you guys are gonna reward him with a $47,000 raise, which is just a little bit more than what you got, Sarah, as your yearly raise. So, and I think that you're using the political appointment as a loophole. What makes the county councilor a political appointment? How do you define that? Is it because you guys are political and appoint him? But I think that should be a neutral, unbiased appointment, not a political appointment. And I think you're using that so that nobody has to bid on it. You're finding a loophole in the language of it, so that way nobody bids on this as well.
Any more public comment here at the courthouse? Anyone online, Sarah? Okay, we'll bring it back to the commission. Comments and or motions?
I have a few comments. The reason bidding isn't required after the appointment of the county attorney is because at that point it's a sole source. So you can't bid it after that point. That $220 rate that is charged hasn't been changed for 10 or 12 years. If we go out for bid, my guess is the rate per hour is going to go up because I think if you go to Kansas City or even Topeka, you're looking at $250, $300, $350, $400 an hour. Also, John's not getting all that money. There's probably 5 different attorneys at that firm that do bits and pieces of work, and in some cases, our attorney fees are paid by our liability insurance company, and they pick the lawyer on that. So that's why you may be seeing a different lawyer than John Bullock in some of these cases. Also, I've reviewed some of the billings for work, and for January of 2024, John did about 20 hours of work. Some other attorneys at the firm did other work. So if you look at 20 hours a week, the hourly rate, if you divide it by 220, is less than having a full-time staff attorney.
Thank you. Just maybe an additional comment or two. I've been very pleased with John's work. I think this purchase contract, this agreement is different than others in that the county counselor serves directly to the county commission to provide us with legal advice. And so in many ways, it's about a relationship. How quickly does John respond? You know, I've had many good conversations with John on some very tricky issues, and those fall under that attorney-client privilege. And so I'm comfortable stepping away from our policy. I understand why our policy is in place, and while we do that, and I can understand that people says, well, why aren't you following the policy? But I do see that this one is a little bit different than some of our other purchasing agreements. Any other comments or motions?
I'll make one other comment. The budget for 2025 is, I believe, $550,000. This contract with the Bullock's law firm is not to exceed $400,000. We do have other attorneys that are working on various tax cases and so forth. And again, I want to stress, it may seem like a lot of money, but all you got to do is win 1 or 2 tax cases with a big box store, and you've more than paid for the money.
This Commissioner Reed, I move to waive the purchasing policy and authorize staff to issue a blanket purchase order for 2025 legal services provided by provided by Mr. John T. Bullock of Seifert, Blumenthal, and Harris LLC in the amount of $400,000.
Commissioner Kelly, I'll go ahead and second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Move on to our next item, which is another administration item to adopt a charter resolution to exempt Lawrence Douglas County Public Health from completing sanitary inspections in schools in Douglas County.
Just gonna invite Jonathan Smith, Director of Orange Douglas County Public Health, and Shelby, or whoever from staff, to present this item. Jonathan?
All right, can y'all hear me okay? All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Thanks for this opportunity to discuss our request related to KSA 65202A, which will allow for counties allows for counties to continue exempting themselves from requiring their local health departments from completing sanitary inspections. I do want to note that the Health Board did approve this charter resolution, a draft of our charter resolution, at our August 2024 Health Board meeting, so they've seen this as well. I want to start off by saying in the memo and in conversations amongst ourselves and others, we use the word duplicative to describe our historical involvement with school inspections due to other agencies and regulations that contain more robust and comprehensive assessments of the safety of schools that are supported by an ability to compel a response to an inspection. Rather than our inspection, which has no legal obligations for schools to respond to things that are found when we do these inspections. So looking back on the memo and other communications that we've had, I'll take ownership of this and acknowledge that we probably should have said something different than the word duplicative and said exactly what I just said, which is that there are other inspections that schools participate in that are more robust and comprehensive. So additionally, I do want to point out that KDHE, Kansas Department of Health and Environment, they don't have any guidelines or recommendations for if we were to reach out to them and say, hey, do you have a template that we can use? So they don't have a way for defining that, so we've asked, and they'll tell you they don't have anything. And so historically, our inspections have included assessments of building grounds, so ensuring that they're well maintained, free of hazards, garbage is picked up, plumbing, toilets get flushed, water temperature's not too hot, general housekeeping, pest control, and playground equipment, which are all areas that we're very confident that are already being assessed by schools or other agencies. Another thing I wanted to note is that in larger counties like Sedgwick and Johnson County, they've already chosen to exempt themselves from conducting school inspections. And the one thing I want to make very, very, very clear to the commission, to anybody who lives in Douglas County, all of our schools, is that this exemption by no means does it mean that we will not respond to public health complaints or environmental health complaints that come through via schools. We're 1,000% committed to doing that, just like we do for everything. So if there is something that the school didn't catch, something that they were doing, or if a parent has a concern from a public health standpoint or environmental health standpoint, we're 1,000% committed to responding to those. I wanted to make that clear, that this exemption does not mean that school, we're not going to respond to that. And we do still do some things already in our environmental health team with the schools, so some of the pools, and also child care licensing. So if they have child care programs at the schools, those will continue as well. Our thing is we're just trying to make sure that we're efficient with our 2 environmental health staff members that we have. They already spend 80 hours a month on inspections, swimming pools, septic tanks, tobacco retail, cereal malt beverage retailers throughout the county. And the other thing that I'll say is that if you would prefer for us to create a side-by-side comparison of all of the other inspections that the school does, if there's something that the fire department does, and bring this back to you, we'd be happy to do this. I'm going to invite Shelby up here in a minute to talk about how this has been handled throughout the state for other local health departments. So the reason we're up here is because typically it's been a pretty routine thing for other counties, but we don't want to, we're not like other counties, so we're unique, so you may want to have some discussion about it. So without further ado, Shelby, if you wanted to add some things from the state level, and then we'll hang around in case you have any questions.
Good evening, Commissioners. Like Jonathan said, my name is Shelby Ostrom. I'm the policy analyst for the Health Department. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what's been happening on the state level in terms of school inspections. So the charter resolution that we're going to do was actually written by the Kansas Association of Local Health Departments.
All right. So, there, we can stand out here for a second, because I was going to talk about that health code policy, because I pulled that up. Well, what bothered me about it was that they were going to, Douglas County had never actually suspended their inspections, and it says it in here, that other counties had, but prior to COVID, they had the ability to suspend the local health department doing inspections because of the things that he said, which they should have published a little bit more of what he said in there in this note, because what he said does make sense if I think about the agencies that inspect. But my question is listening to the way that he talked about that there, was that didn't sound like Lawrence Health Department had much authority to actually do enforcement. And that brought to the immediate question, and looking back to what Marcelino did during the COVID thing, and pretty, followed protocols and everything and locked Lawrence down and everything. Did he even have the authority to do that?
Well, once like the commission and the school district backed Marcelino's policy on that, I think that's how they would get the authority to do it. But it sounds like what he said there, they don't have that themselves.
Well, what'd you think of Dorsey's? What'd you think of Dorsey's response to this stuff? Come on, this one.
Well, it makes the point that I was making. He tried to say, I just want to point out that 400,000 is just to him, and that our insurance covers other kinds of lawyers. That's why you might see it on there, and that's the point I'm making. That that ain't free.
Well, and my thing is, if he's only doing part of the work, why is he the one appointed?
Right.
And then there,
and that's in the right.
and if he's the appointed person, well, I guess you have other staff members doing shit. I guess that's fair.
Well, possibly. I mean, possibly. I could understand how he'd have his staff, but the way it's written up, it says that other law partners in there will be, involved as well.
Yeah.
So
Give these guys a couple minutes to ask some questions. If you guys want to put a question or two in the chat. There's 53 watching.
But yeah, so the point is, it's going to cost a lot of money in legal services from him, but also on top of the other.
My own prison, he wants to know who's a doctor. Who's he talking about? What's he a doctor of? Who are you talking about there?
Who, me?
Yeah, because he says Google says nothing. I think Google's wrong.
He's asking about me as
I
a
don't know.
doctor?
I want him to clarify. Because if he's asking if Doc is a doc, he's got it wrong. AB, you'll catch up. Just dumb shit in a commission meeting. Nothing
But
new.
I think it does, what I said in there about it being a loophole about the political appointment is kind of interesting. It's like, what exactly makes that a political appointment? Because the political body made that appointment?
Pretty much. I guess he's their
So
counselor.
any appointment they make is a political appointment.
Well, and John Denicola asked it, what court is he in? I don't know that he actually even goes to court and argue. He's more of a behind-the-scenes
Well,
advisor.
the way that it's written up, like his letter to the commission about why he needs to be paid this much, he says his services run the whole, anything you can think of. He's there giving them advice on
Turn this
anything,
around where we can see
whether
it.
it's litigation,
So,
whether it's litigation or law enforcement, and he just lists all these different things that he works with them on. So it's.
but Patrick was talking about he's been very confident in the attorney-client privilege advice that he's been given. Well, and John Bullock's the one that kind of designed their public comment actions, didn't he? Over the course of the last couple of years.
John is interesting because, I've been going to these meetings since 2022 and never saw the guy at the meetings until just last spring, it seemed like. That was the only time I'd ever seen him. Had you seen him around here before?
Not a lot.
I don't think I'd ever seen him
Well,
before.
and he wasn't even here tonight, even though he was the one getting appointed.
And getting appointed and also getting a raise because they put the numbers in there from last year. They spent $363,000 on his law firm, and then they list two other law firms, which one of the city commissioners, who's the vice mayor, is an attorney there. His name's Brad Finkeldine. His law firm, they contracted for like $78,000, and then they contracted with another one for like $12,000 or something like that.
Yeah, so it wasn't the whole 400 going to just one.
Right, and so he's estimating that he's going to be doing even more spending of their money this year.
Well,
Which is on top of the lawsuits I was talking about. I think the county has 3 lawsuits against them right now, 3 or 4. One of them is mine. And like I said in there, that's outside attorneys representing.
Yep. All right, guys, that's about all the use we had for this meeting. Just wanted to come in here and talk about these political appointments being waived from their bid responsibilities. And I think that's BS anyway. He must have been talking about you.
Why?
Yeah, because he's talking about sovereign citizens, just like an idiot usually does.
Are you still alive?
Yeah, here's his
What did he say?
audio is horrible, as with most sovereign citizen bids.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Another hater.
yeah, most frauditors out there don't have a very good sound system either, so
Another
they tend to
hater.
miss some of the things that actually get said. So,
Haters everywhere, you know.
all right, guys, that's it from the county commission meeting. Have a good night.